Hello, and welcome to this segment of Industry Insights by G2, which features hot takes and actionable advice from business leaders around the world. This is a professional spotlight with Chase Cunningham, G2's very own VP of Security Market Research. And with October being Cybersecurity Awareness Month, this conversation is right on time. My name is Alexandra Vasquez. I'm a content marketing specialist at G2, and I'm so excited to share this interview with you all and to speak with you today, Chase. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on here. This is good timing. October, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Everything just kind of lines up sometimes.
Absolutely. So today, Chase and I will be discussing his rise to cybersecurity fame and what everybody needs to know about the future of the digital security industry. But before we jump in, how about some icebreaker questions? So, Chase, in the theme of G2T, what is your favorite beverage?
I'm a big coffee fan, snob, I guess you could say. So I probably drink way too much. Death Wish coffee's probably the one I have more often than not, and I definitely drink more of it than I should.
I can relate with you on that. And where is your favorite place to enjoy a cup of coffee?
Probably on the deck back behind the house, just in the mornings when no one's awake because I get up early and it's I see the deer come by because I live in the country. So, it's just me and the deer and turkey and coffee and life is good.
Awesome. So Chase, what was your very first job?
My very first job was hauling bales of hay for my dad on our ranch, and I made a whopping 10 cents a bale. So if I moved 500 bales of hay, I made $50. It was a real little learning experience and economic value.
That's amazing. Good value of the dollar moment there. What are some of your best time management hacks that you've learned throughout your career?
I think the biggest one is just owning your calendar. If you're gonna, be in a spot where you're gonna work with others, which all of us are, just making sure that you advertise what's kind of off limits and making sure that you've got time dedicated to the things that matter outside of specifically sitting at your desk doing your job. It's just as important to be a whole person as it is to do the work. So, family and eating and working out and staying healthy and those things, carve off time and make sure that you own that calendar.
Great, I love it. And what are some of your favorite software in your current tech stack?
So far, I'm really getting interest from using a lot of the large language model stuff. I'm a big fan of Grammarly for writing just because a product of the Texas education system, I can always use help with my grammar. And there's some really good stuff coming out that basically can help all of us be better authors. And I think that that's been really cool to see that develop.
That's great. Yeah, as a writer myself, I owe a lot to Grammarly as well, so I can agree. And then last icebreaker question. What are some problems or issues at work that just like really get to you?
I mean, the biggest problem that I see that is typically is people give too much to the job, and it's not that your job is not super important and it's not valuable, whatever. But I think it was The Rock that said it that if you got hit by a bus, your job would be posted before your obituary. So just keep it real. Understand you're here to earn a paycheck and help the company, but you matter just as much as the work does. The workaholic stuff is not healthy and not good for anybody.
Completely agree. So thank you for that, Chase. And I'm really excited to jump in now to a little bit more of a deep dive into your career. So let's start at the beginning. I'd love to learn a bit about your history. You've worked with a list of government agencies like the CIA, the FBI. What did some of those early career experiences teach you about cybersecurity, and how did it lead you here to G2?
Yeah, so I've been super blessed. I'm retired military, and in my military and government career, I got to work with a bunch of three letters. The biggest thing that I learned there was that the systems that we use are so interconnected that nothing, no matter how well it's architected, is unhackable. And just to be, honest and open with organizations about that reality, and then dealing with the simple problems first.
Great. And how did you end up at G2? What are you doing around here these days?
Yeah, so I actually wound up at G2 from a friend who referenced me to the company. I've been I guess you'd call it a fan of G2 for a while because I've always thought it was really valuable to get data and insights just like you do for Yelp for restaurants, and G2 had that for software. And as somebody that does analysis and market research and whatnot on software, it was great to be able to go to get kind of collective insight onto what things were of value and where people were having problems. And I just saw an opportunity and was blessed enough that the G2 people were willing to let me come on board to try and kind of flesh out the security practice here. So it's sometimes everything falls together, and I just happen to be the lucky recipient of all those dominoes falling into the same place.
That's great. And not to touch on what I mentioned a little bit earlier, I saw you giggle about it a bit, your cybersecurity fame. You have a bit of a reputation in the cybersecurity industry as Dr. Zero Trust. This came from your creation of the Zero Trust Extended Framework. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the framework and your journey to creating it.
Yeah, so when I was at Forrester Research, we were working to try and figure out how to map the vendor space into the strategic value of a zero trust approach. And to do that, we looked at it from a real academic perspective. And one thing that's great in academic context is to have a framework to kind of work people's brains off of to solve big problems. So we spent quite a bit of time mapping zero trust solutions into strategies, and that hit the market in a really good way, and people started to see that there was value there. So it's kind of growing on its own, which is good. And we're, at where we are now, which has been exponential growth over the course of the last few years.
Great, that's awesome. And moving on with your Dr. Zero Trust persona, you use your podcast, which is called Dr. Zero Trust, to inform listeners about the most applicable current cybersecurity insights from an expert. Could you share with us what you think is really top of mind in the cybersecurity industry right now?
What I think everyone's really engaged in right now in cyber, honestly, is trying to figure out how this sort of AI growth, and I use the term AI loosely because it's not AI, it's machine learning and kind of the marketing around it. But they're trying to figure out how that applies in context. You're seeing adversaries dial in on how to use it. You're seeing good guys dial in on it. It's going to continue to be an issue we face for the next X number of years. And there's no easy solution to it as it stands currently, but it's definitely fitting into the problems we need to solve space. I think that's going to be kind of the hot ticket item for the next probably 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, I totally agree. So much so, the next question has to do with just that. So a lot of companies are holding AI as a business priority these days. So from your perspective, how can organizations leverage artificial intelligence or machine learning to enhance their cybersecurity?
I think the biggest thing is to know what those systems are really actually good at. The reason that I say it shouldn't be called AI is because people then think that it will just like magically do it by itself. And that's not how these things work. They're math, they're algorithms, they're products, they're compute sort of engines. And to do that, you need to have really good data. In any system where you're trying to do automation or analytics, you need to have good data. Otherwise, you get the old saying of crap in, crap out. So that's where they really should focus when using these types of systems for cyber, is make sure that your data that you're going to be chewing on is as polished and as valuable as possible, and then let the systems help you get insight from that information. Don't just think you can throw everything at it and have it magically sprinkle some AI dust on it at work.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a lot bigger than people think it is than just chatting with a chat bot online. So it's just going to get bigger. So with that in mind, how do you envision the evolution of cyber innovations and also cyber threats in the next 5 to 10 years? And what can organizations do right now to prepare for them?
Well, the problem and the benefit of any solution or technology is that it can be used for different purposes. So AI, or whatever you want to call it, really is a dual edged sword, and the good guys are using it just like the adversaries are using it. And it's going to continue to fuel the different methodologies and tactics that organizations are going to have to deal with. If you're not paying attention to it, you kind of need to get familiar with it because it's going to keep coming at you. And unfortunately, on the threat side of this, we're going to see the continuation of democratization of threat vectors and tactics. This is only going to make the spread and sprawl of cyber threat vectors more applicable. So it's not going to be easy days because the speed and scale of this stuff's going to get really big, really fast, as if it already wasn't. And organizations are going to have to be prepared for that. The good thing is you can flip that model on its head and also use some of those same tactics, techniques, and procedures to make your security posture better overall.
Great, great. And then, of course, in celebration of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I would love to close out with our last question with some important takeaways and looks forward for the viewers. So what initiatives or strategies do you think can improve cybersecurity awareness and education among companies and employees and even the average user?
I think the most important thing is really to understand that the basics are key to having a good foundation in cyber. Don't go looking for the magic button that you push and all of a sudden all your woes are gone and you'll never be breached or compromised. The reality of operating in the digital space means that the likelihood of compromise is basically always there. And make sure that you take care of the low-hanging fruit because you don't want to be an easy target. Unfortunately, cyber is not an area where the tide rising lifts all ships. This is about making sure that your organization and yourself is protected as best as possible. And hopefully that helps others. But you've got to take care of you, and you've got to make sure that you have a good understanding of what the bad guys are using to go after you. If you can eliminate those easy things, the low-hanging fruit, you're better off than the next person down the street.
That's amazing. Thank you. That wraps up our professional spotlight with G2's Chase Cunningham. For more industry insights content, check out our blog at learn.g2.com/tag/industry-insights. See you next time, and thank you again, Chase.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for maybe we can get some coffee and talk about this in the future.
That would be great. Thank you.